I wanted to ask. I had this come up in one of my comments since I've been posting more on my TikTok of me being out and going to protest. Are you being paid to protest?
Bro, my George Soros check is feeling good right
I'm
now. No, I
waiting.
no, I talked to somebody, bro, and they literally said that.
Make sure you guys are following me on all platforms. Follow me on here first and foremost. Follow me on the TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Drop a sub. All of you guys that are watching right now, drop a sub right now. But yeah, we're gonna get started here shortly with Mason. You guys may know him as the dude from Jubilee, the guy that debated a bunch of conservatives saying that he loves St. Pecker. You guys may have know him also from debating Charlie Kirk. And yeah, and if you guys are a hardcore follower of his, you guys might even know him from his live streams recently in these past 2 weeks from him protesting out in LA. So you guys may know him. He's gonna join us here. We're gonna be discussing the recent the protest that's been going on in LA, and also across the nation with the No Kings protest. I have my own perspectives as well. I mean, we have the same like ideas and stuff, but we want to kind of get each other's perspective of what we've seen at these protests. I went to the anti-ICE protest when the raids happened here in Omaha, and He's been going to the ones that have been popping off on LA, the ones that you guys are probably most familiar with, and also the No Kings and all of that good stuff. So yeah, here shortly I will be calling him. Awesome, join video call. There we go. Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yo,
Yo,
I can
what's
do my,
up?
but I'm in a car. So, would you prefer face or no face?
It's up to you. I don't really mind if you don't want to show face. But yeah, it's awesome that this is working. So
Totally, bro. Totally. Are you live right now?
yeah, I'm still live. I was just gaming in the meantime, so I figured you had issues with like your connection, especially since you were out. So
Yeah. What's up, chat? How you doing?
yeah, yeah, it's the boy Mason. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself here.
Yeah, for those that don't know me, my name is Mason. I'm One Hand Politics on all socials. I mostly do a lot of leftist news commentary and coverage, React Andy. But I've been out getting active at these protests just because it's important right now to show solidarity with communities. So a big part of my content recently has been holding law enforcement accountable and showing people what's actually happening out there. There's a lot
Right.
of misinformation from legacy media saying that people are out there to cause trouble, cause chaos, and that's not what it's about. It's about the message and it's about being principled with the community.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I'm very happy that you're doing that. Actually, one of the questions I actually had up here was kind of getting your perspective of these like protests because, as you said, a lot of legacy media has been kind of spinning it, so it's like the protesters are the ones doing all these writings. And it's a one thing. It's also a problem that I've noticed even here in the Midwest because I mean, you're gonna get a lot of bias here in the Midwest when it comes to local news, but even just talking to average people out in the gym or in public, they all have the same idea that the public is the one doing all of this violence. And so when we were organizing our protest here in Omaha, everyone's like, let's not be like LA, which in my head I was like, let's hope that the OPD isn't like LAPD. So
Right. Yeah, I think that especially when it comes to property destruction, right? Like one, there's instances where police are instigating and agitating to give justification for their escalation of force. But there's also going to be people that are rightfully pissed at the system. And that doesn't justify, like the best way to bring about the end of ICE isn't to burn a car. But it's also, you got to recognize the nuance of the reality of the situation. And if people's communities are getting ripped apart by these agents, there's going to be property destruction. And that's just a reality of the situation. So if
exactly.
Los Angeles City wants to stop that type of destruction, they got to address the problem, which is the increased funding to ICE and the raids that are going on under their watch.
No, exactly. And I mean, even I have a question over here. Well, I have like points actually over here that I wanted to talk about. But did you actually see any counter protests when you were out there?
Yeah, there were a couple. Not the first day. Like the day that a lot of things kicked off was right after. So I've been live streaming since the Compton and Paramount protest, which was
Yeah.
down here in like South Central LA. And that was started because of a Home Depot raid that was in the community. And for those in the audience that don't know, Paramount is a majority Latino community. So a lot of people there were just rightfully pissed off because of just how much violence was happening from ICE agents in that area. And that's what kicked off a lot of these mass demonstrations. So the next day, the big protest was right near the federal building where a lot of ICE detainees were being
Mm,
held. And we were on top of the bridge, and that's where a lot of people saw the concrete being thrown down on police vehicles, the 5 Waymos that burned. That was a
right.
huge demonstration from just all parts of LA County. And there were a couple of counter protesters, but nothing too big. And then there were more counter protesters as the days followed. And
Right.
I was out in the street virtually every day except that Thursday. And there were more and more counter protests as the week went on. But there were a couple of people that got pretty messed up just because if you're out there saying, we support our local ICE raids with
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people that are pissed off of what's going on, you're going to get violence. So I think a lot of counter protesters knew that. But I did run into some people who were doing coverage and trying to like sensationalize everybody there as a rioter, but they
Mm,
were they were being pretty low key about it. I recognize them because I'm in a lot of political spaces.
right.
So there were like PragerU there. There's a couple people from Fox News, and those that knew were trying to like push them away without like trying to escalate violence to give police justification to like start doing really egregious acts.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, you're at a current protest right now. How are you doing? Like, how are you feeling after doing all of these different protests?
It's very energizing. Like a lot of people think, aren't you exhausted? And there's an aspect of the physicality really
Right.
taking a toll on your body. But at the same time, like when you're with communities that are suffering so much, like there is a sense of energy that's given to you. And I've been saying this a lot in different interviews I've done with people. There's an understandable sense of anger, but there's a sense of positivity amongst companionship and knowing that, my government isn't looking out for me in my community, but my fellow community members are. And that's what feels really energizing. That's what feels really positive is when everybody's able to get together under that same message.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I felt when I mean, as you've heard, we had the ice raids here in Omaha, and they targeted literally meatpacking plants, where a lot of it was just literally a bunch of undocumented like Hispanic workers, and that hit home for me because I'm a first generation Latino, and I was honestly that morning when I found out I was at work, I was very upset, and when I found out there was a protest, I was energized, I was ready to go. And so I went to that, and I went to the No Kings, and I'm still energized. I hope I get to see more protests out here soon. But yeah, no, it's it's definitely energizing for sure. And one thing I wanted to talk about with like what's going on here in Omaha, I don't know if you've heard, but before we had the protests happen with like the No Kings, our amazing governor Jim Pillen here in Nebraska decided to activate the National Guard for some reason. I guess he thought we were LA. I don't know, but he decided to activate it. I guess he was worried about his glorious College World Series going on in Omaha, and he thought they were going to escalate things just for absolutely nothing to happen. So yeah, it kind of just made it look ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of the like really big actions being done, especially by conservative politicians, is just to give some sort of political fodder to the base.
Right,
I mean, everybody's watching their, right wing outlet right now that's really sensationalizing all of these writers that hate America, that want people to be hurt. And a lot of these conservative politicians are like, okay, how do I feed the base to feel like I'm doing something? And calling
right,
the National Guard on like the how many protesters that were in Omaha, there's nowhere it was anywhere near as LA. And that's not to say that people don't care in Omaha, but there's just not as many people. Like LA
exactly. Yeah.
County, there's a crazy stat. 1 in 35 Americans in the whole country lives in LA County, which is crazy to think about.
Mm,
So when people say the slogan LA don't play, they mean that. And people are
exactly.
going to come out as long as they feel like their government isn't representing them. So you're going to start to see a lot of governors or other just state legislators try to make a scene and make a name for themselves. It's really similar to like Nancy Mace and the
Mm,
anti-trans movement going on. Nobody knew who the fuck Nancy Mace was until her big claim to fame was, oh, let's ban transgender women from using the restroom on Capitol Hill, which is
right.
it makes no sense legislatively. Like there's no harm that's being done there, but she's doing it because she knows conservatives will clap like seals across the country saying, oh my God, Nancy Mace is saving women's rights. It's so
It's
stupid.
yeah, it's very reactionary, and I think what even like added more salt to the wound on his part was the fact that the police department here even posted a statement saying that it didn't get violent that Friday night when they protested at the College World Series and the No Kings protest. So it's like, what were we doing here? Like there was no reason to do this.
Yeah. No,
So
there's a lot of LAPD that like obviously they're going to follow orders and they're going to work in conjunction with National Guard if they're deployed. But off the clock, there were anonymous LAPD officers who
oh
said,
yeah.
"I don't know why the hell they were here. It made no sense. Like we could have handled this ourselves." And while I don't agree with LAPD, I do agree in that instance that the National Guard did not need to be deployed on its own citizens. Like constitutionally, the National Guard is saved for extreme instances of protecting the public, and they're not protecting the public when they're tear gassing the public.
Oh no, I mean I was watching your live streams and I was watching Hassan's live streams, and it seemed that the LAPD were the ones that are trying to agitate the crowd and like make it seem like, oh, they're the ones that want to get violent. Meanwhile, you had people just standing around and getting pushed by these cops. There was a video of the guy getting trampled by police horses, and it's insane. Like, and then they'll spin it, so like the media will spin it in a way where it's like it shows it to be like the crowd is rioting, where it doesn't show that the cause of it was the LAPD itself. So
Yeah, and you're going to get people that are not just going to stand and take it, and that's when you get more of the destruction,
exactly.
more of the property damage, which at the end of the day is what they want. Because the more that there is, justification for them to be out there, the more overtime they're getting, the more they actually get to use their weapons that they've been so excited to use.
Oh
So
yeah.
at the end of the day, they're going to want that to continue to escalate. And there are people in the crowd that are trying to police their own. Like I have a live where I showed there was a group of like 12 teenagers that started to break into a sushi restaurant and start to take some of the materials there in Little Tokyo, and they
Right.
weren't stopped by police. They were stopped by other protesters who said, "Hey, this is taken away from the mission. This is taken away from our message." So there are people out there policing their own in non-violent ways, and it
Hmm.
doesn't take a baton smacking someone's skull or tear gassing them to actually get people to be there peacefully.
Oh, I agree. I mean, did you see the clip of the Australian reporter literally getting targeted with that? What was it, a tear gas? It was like a canister or something, a rubber bullet?
It was a less lethal rubber bullet, yeah. And that's another funny thing is there's like a term that people are using, less than lethal, that I don't know where it came from because that's not the term. It's not less than lethal. They're less lethal. So
Yeah.
these have the capacity to end somebody's life if they're hit in the right spot, a soft part in their skull, through their eye. These are not just like little deterrents. These are very, very damaging pieces of weaponry that just aren't the same as like a metal bullet.
Right. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Like you said, the less lethal, but it's like dudes are getting their entire heads cracked open and first aid's being administered to them. So, yeah, I don't necessarily think that's less than lethal. So I don't know. I also saw so a lot of clips, especially on TikTok, are going around with like Gavin Newsom taking a lot of wins. I'm curious to see how he's being perceived over there.
Like on the ground, a lot of people are pretty just pissed off at the status quo in general. So it's not even like there's one party that's doing a majority good. If anything, Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have just been saying, we don't support the ICE raids. And it's like, okay, well,
Right.
what are you actually doing about that? So, like, a lot of people are pretty angry with them. But I do see nationally it's helping his image when, he gets to come out and say, what they did to Alex Padilla is totally wrong. We need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we are protecting our people's constitutional right to protest, and it's easy when you have Trump as a boogeyman to like say that this is the person that's causing all this escalation. But Karen Bass is literally the one who authorized the curfew of 8 p.m. And so when you
Right.
say like people only have a right to protest until 8 p.m. and then is bedtime for the whole city, like not only is that hurting people's constitutional freedoms, but even like economic businesses. There's so many places that are open past 8 p.m. here in LA that rely on the night crowd in order to sustain themselves. So she hurt herself economically. She hurt people's ability to protest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to hear that Democrats are out here saving people's freedoms when oftentimes they're the ones that are helping Republicans trample
Right.
the actual activists that are out there.
Well, that's one thing that I actually brought up. I actually got interviewed by one of the local news here when I was at the No Kings protest, and I'm
Hmm.
thankful that they left the part about me being there for the immigrants. But I also mentioned to them in one of the questions that I'm out here voicing my frustration with both parties because I feel like none of them are actually representing us right now, and there's not a lot of pushback. Everyone's being complacent or adding to the adding fuel to the fire. So
And that's what's really it's really inspiring to see politicians that are standing up to it. And Democrats can be a voice for good. I don't want to say that they are inherently evil. Like I think that Zoran right
Mm,
now running for New York City mayor has said we I will make a commitment that ICE will not be running against or like ruining our families.
right.
And I've seen a lot of people say, you can say whatever you want on the campaign trail, but he has shown himself to really be dedicated to the principles that he says that he has. And so I think that Democrats like that can run on a message that makes communities feel safer, and that can help build their own political power. And so at the end of the day, I think political parties just want to get elected. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because your party can't do anything if it doesn't get elected. But you want to get elected for the right principles and the right reasons. You're not going to get elected by saying, I'm going to stop the chaos and install law and order and help our police department. You're going to get elected by saying, I'm going to protect communities right now being ripped apart by agencies like ICE.
Right.
And people see the hypocrisy when the Biden administration continues to invest in ICE. And that's what kind of laid the groundwork for Trump to deploy them. But people also know that the parties aren't 100% identical. Like
Hmm.
these types of raids wouldn't have happened under a Kamala Harris presidency. But I think it's important for liberals to recognize there still would be a lot of harm under a Democrat regime right now. So we need to
Hmm.
keep the same energy when we're seeing ICE being deployed, regardless of who's in power. But Democrats can capitalize on this anger by actually doing something about these raids and standing up to a regime that is authoritarian.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like there was even a sign that was like, if Kamala Harris was running right now, or if she was president, we would
It'd
be
be a
at brunch.
brunch.
But it's like,
You know?
well, I don't think he would be carrying it then if she was still doing immigration raids. And so, I mean, as like a lot of like gotcha points that I've seen conservatives online use is, well, Obama deported this many people, which is like, I don't necessarily think that's a good way to counter because I personally don't agree with that either, and that doesn't justify continuing to do these raids. So, I mean, I gotta hold both of them accountable as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the difference between the left, right? They're not a cheerleader of
Right.
any particular political party. They're going to have principles that is consistent regardless of who's in power.
Yeah, and so you're in the LA area. I've seen a lot of people like talk about how there's a lack of support within like people that are influencers out there. For me, I'm a Latino, so there's a lot of Latino influencers that are very silent right now. I have my own ideas of why they're not voicing, but do you have any ideas? Do you think why they're probably not speaking out right now?
Yeah, I think when a lot of people see that it can affect, the change in their pocket, they're gonna hold their tongues a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely know that there's a lot of uh people with high positions of power in LA that either aren't showing up to these demonstrations or aren't even advertising them. And I think that's disheartening when you're profiting off of these communities and a lot of people that are being directly affected by these agencies. So I'm hoping people will start to speak out more. I think as more demonstrations happen and we get more bodies on the ground, the more that people will feel forced to. Because
Hmm.
if you want to continue to have a consumer base amongst these people, which is the primary motive of why people are influencers, then you actually got to influence those communities and you got to show that you're not only in solidarity but you're also willing to help with resources or even just advertisement of different causes that are going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, being a Latino, seeing all these Latino influencers just stay silent while they were, using us, the Latino audience to, prop themselves up. It's very frustrating. What are some ways that you think people can stay safe out while protesting? So you're in the LA area. People see that it can get violent. That misconception of the protesters being the ones that are being labeled as rioters. But what are some ways that people can stay safe during those protests? Because we can see that LAPD really tends to get very agitated and wants to initiate these violent encounters. So, what are some ways that you would tell, or some tips you would tell people to stay safe out there?
So, as someone who's been going to a lot of these events pretty consistently, there's a typical formula that happens. People get there, there are loud demonstrations, people are understandably angry, law enforcement shows their presence, but they're not acting on the protesters, and they kind of just want people to tire themselves out. Now,
Mm,
some people do get tired and they end up going home, and as the numbers start to dwindle and tensions get even more loud, that's when police action will actually happen against the protesters or the
right.
demonstrators that are there. And so, for what I always tell people is you should come out if you feel like you're able bodied enough to be standing for that long. I know that some people feel like they don't have the physical means to do that, and that's fine. I don't think that it's like a requirement that everybody needs to protest in order to support the cause. But if
Right.
you're not going to protest, you should share what's going on. You should try to get it active so that way people can come who are able to. But if you are able to come and you're worried about like police violence, come out for the part before they actually start to do that. And then
Mhm.
once police threaten themselves or threaten the people, you can leave. Like nobody's going to be mad if numbers start to dwindle because there are going to be a group of solidarity that is there. If
Mhm.
you want to stay past like what I've been doing, there really are a lot of materials that you need to bring. So you need to bring a face respirator that you can typically buy at Home Depot. It's used when people are doing painting of their house or spray paint or whatever, but that can help you when it comes to like the tear gas and a lot of the irritants that they use. Eye protection is really important. So whether that's bringing ski goggles or even just like construction goggles, that'll prevent any of the rubber bullets from doing real big damage to your eye. And then for those that are born assigned male at birth, I'd really suggest bringing a cup. There's a big story that got released a couple days ago where somebody had their groin area shattered from one of these rubber
Oof.
bullets. So that's like the
Yeah.
worst thing that you can imagine if you're assigned male. So
Oof.
I'd make sure that you're protecting your sensitive areas for sure.
Yeah, just thinking of that, I'm like, ugh, no, that's
Yeah,
sad. But yeah, no,
not good.
I know a lot of the people that protest tend to wear a lot of like face masks, and I think it's pretty ironic that Trump made a post on Truth Social talking about how they should arrest people that are wearing masks, while simultaneously you have ICE agents showing up to job sites, to schools wearing masks, and just kidnapping people straight off the streets. I don't know what you think about that, but for me, it's like it's such a hypocritical take there.
Yeah, people are wearing masks not only because it's a crowded space and they want to be respectful of not spreading anything. There's like a new surge in COVID here in LA where I know a lot of people are, but they're also wearing it just because police are profiling people based on how many demonstrations you're attending.
Right.
Like I myself, I've been to a lot of these, so I could see police like seeing me as somebody who's trying to like instigate people to riot or whatever the narrative is that they try to spin.
Exactly.
There's a trans woman who was in a demonstration that I was at that ended in Koreatown. We all got kettled. There was about 75 of us,
Mm.
and we thought they were going to do a mass arrest. They brought out flex cuffs, which are the zip tie looking things, in
Mhm.
order to do those mass arrests. And they ended up letting most of us go. But they swarmed this trans woman who was passing out masks to people and giving them the jail relief number that people can call
Right.
as a hotline in case they get arrested. And there was like 12 guards on her, and she wasn't doing anything. And
Jeez.
I think it just really shows the importance of concealing your own identity, because it's not that you're planning on doing something that's egregious to the state, but you just need to protect yourself out there. And the more that people are there as a collective, the less likely it is that they can single us out and actually make those single arrests. So it is important that you move as a collective. I mean, a lot of these collective movements that do radical politics will wear like the black bloc so that way people can't be singled out. Try not to show any tattoos or anything that
Mm.
signifies who you are. And that's not because you're intending to do bad things, but it's because you're protecting your own privacy and personal identity from law enforcement that's trying to agitate people.
Right. Yeah. Totally. There was also so LA is actually considered a sanctuary city. Do you think the ICE raids happen there on purpose so they can cause the unrest and kind of desensitize people to these raids in order for them to continue to keep doing them? Because it was very, for me, it was very weird that they targeted LA to begin with.
Yeah, so Trump is targeting LA because there's so many Hispanic communities here, and there's a lot of people that are undocumented because they have family that they've traveled to here that they know they have roots in, that they can get away from political persecution or instability amongst wherever it is that they're coming from to the United States. So he knows that he can up the quota numbers here. There's not a majority of like violent undocumented people here in Los Angeles County. If
Hmm.
anything, violence is committed more from people who are born in this country than people who come here undocumented, or without proper paperwork. And so it's not because they're trying to create a safer community. That's what Trump keeps saying is we're taking all the violent people, but they're not. They're taking people that they know are easy targets. So
Right.
people that are going to places like Home Depot because they don't have a social security card to get like a W-2 job. They're going to places like courthouses where people are going for their hearings in order to get proper citizenship and documentation. So they're looking for easy targets to ramp up their quota numbers. And that's because Trump wants to appease the political ambitions accounts of his campaign and of his supporters who say we want as many people who don't have documentation to get out of this country. It's not because they want it to be safer, but it's because these people don't deserve to be here. Like the big mantra that they keep saying is there's a legal way to do things. If you're doing it illegally, then you're a criminal just by
Right.
virtue of coming here without like the proper channels. And I want people to know that you don't know the law if you think that undocumented people are criminals. It's not a criminal violation, it's a civic violation.
Right. Yeah,
And the big
exactly.
slogan is, oh, they broke the law. Well, I fucking broke the law when I ran a red light. That doesn't make me a criminal. That means that I committed a civil violation.
Right. Yeah, and it's like you were mentioning that they're targeting like people that are just working. It's not like they're going after like criminals out here. And I think it's kind of like we've seen it already with this post where he's kind of dialing it back because he's starting to see that it's actually affecting all these job sites.
Yeah, agricultural workers. There's a lot of textile mills where Trump's like, actually, we're not going to go after these people. They're hard workers. And it's like, motherfucker, there are hard workers everywhere. Like, why can't you say that? And just because you want to maintain this level of like cheap labor for the United States, that doesn't make you like a righteous person. If anything, it just shows that one, these protests are working because we're showing that, this type of support won't happen across the country. And two, all you care about is the economic interests of the U.S. and what undocumented migrants bring for that. You should also care about the communities and the human decency. Like, this is not just an economic rights issue. This is a humanitarian issue. You can't just kidnap people in unmarked vehicles with ICE agents who won't reveal themselves for proper paperwork, because that's a violation of due process.
Yeah, and I think it's very frustrating to see that a lot of people are always complaining, well, why don't these immigrants do it the right way? They are trying to do it the right way. A lot of them are showing up to immigration hearings, and yet they're still getting arrested and kidnapped by these agents.
Yeah, in the right way that was established when they came here was you apply for asylum when you get to the border, you're let in because you're fleeing political persecution, and then you're supposed to get a hearing later down the line. And the real issue is there are so many people that are applying for asylum that the system is overloaded. And
Right.
so this is a failure on both Democrats and Republicans. Republicans for wanting to just make this an issue about crime or label all these people criminals, because that's not what it is. And Democrats for saying, hey, we'll let you apply for asylum without changing what the length of documentation actually looks like in this country. We need twofold in order to solve the immigration crisis. We need full amnesty for the people that are already here, so that way they don't feel like they're in a situation of instability where they can get deported at any moment. And then we need an easier pathway to citizenship so we can document these people. One, we have better vetting so we know why they're here. And two, they're also contributing towards income tax so that way they
Yeah,
can not
exactly.
only get the rewards that they're paying into, but two, they're paying into the tax system that all citizens are having to as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I've been around the immigrant community my whole life, and they contribute so much, and the fact that none of it is seen because a lot of these like racial biases are around is it's just sad. No, do you think that the U.S. here we're heading into fascism? Like, I mean, we had students like Mahmoud Khalil that got arrested. Politicians are literally being detained. I mean, you brought up one of the senators, was Alex Padilla being detained. And
Hmm.
then they just kind of detaining like anyone that they deem as undocumented. I mean, there have been, I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, there have been cases where they have detained legal citizens that they deemed that they thought that were undocumented. So yeah, not to get like too lib coded, but I'm trying to use the history degree that I have. Seeing like the similarities between the Gestapo and the ICE agents is baffling, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't even think we're heading towards fascism. I think it's easy to say that like fascism's here in the United States. I think it's been here for a long time. I think there's two roads that you go in late stage capitalism. You either get a class conscious group of people that are willing to actually go against institutions, or you're going to get fascist authoritarians who scapegoat all of the problems and attribute it into marginalized groups. And that's really what's happening is the Republican Party is no longer the party of mass like interventionalism across the world. I mean, we are seeing that in Iran, but right
Hmm.
now domestically, it's that there's so many enemies that reside among us. It's not the George Bush of, oh, all of our problems are because of brown people in the Middle East. Now it's, oh, it's the brown people in the Middle East and the trans people that live in your communities and the undocumented immigrants that are here without proper paperwork. and the people here that have religious extremism, unless it's extreme evangelical Christianity. Like that really is the mantra of the Trump administration right now. And I think that's easy to see it with all the examples that you used of people with permanent residencies here with green cards who are completely getting violated and sent to concentration camps.
Yeah.
Let's not say that Guantanamo Bay and CCOT aren't what they are. They're concentration camps, and it's crazy to see the human rights violations of the prison in El Salvador, and Trump just saying, "Yeah, we're going to send people there, and yeah, we might send American citizens," which he told a journalist. There aren't cases of him doing that yet. But I don't put it past the Trump administration for choosing to use force over the Constitution. I mean, he was directly asked by a reporter, "Do you think it's your job as the president to uphold the Constitution?"
Right.
And he flat out said, "I don't know. Ask my lawyers. I'll talk to my lawyers about that." And when the president of the United States is saying that, like, you know what they're
Yeah.
saying behind closed doors that they won't tell the media.
Exactly. I mean, he was caught on the hot mic. I know what you're talking about, where he said that that Americans are next. So very alarming. So I think for the people that are choosing to avoid or ignore the ICE raids, I think it's kind of probably a bad idea because it might be our community right now, but I think overall it's gonna be you next. Like it's gonna be you guys out there next. So
Yeah, I mean, we're 6 months into this presidency, so it's
six
it's really
months.
disheartening to think about what can happen in the next 90% that's still left. Yeah.
I know. I think yesterday I was talking to someone. I was like, "It really has been 6 months." Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's felt like a century. It's crazy. But yeah, you're saying you have a history degree? Is that what you said?
I do have a history degree. Yeah, I graduated with a
You know what's
bachelor's in
really
history.
sad is Yeah, what's really sad in the decades to come is like in the history books, 2015 to 2029 will be known as the Trump era of American politics. Like, oh my God, it's really sad to think that's how far we've gone. Is this man has literally dominated the political landscape for like 15 years. Holy shit.
I hope it just ends with 2029, but who knows? But it's definitely not looking good for American history in the future. I'll say that. So with this,
Yeah,
with sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Yeah, the only thing that I can hope for is like my accelerationist mentality is coming out of like maybe it'll get so bad that people will finally realize that the system's corrupt, and
Ooh,
that's what
yeah.
will cause like an actual left movement in American politics. Because if we do get like a workers' party, and I was talking to somebody actually right now at the protest that LA's getting really close to a general strike. I mean, we're seeing so many people mass mobilize out here that maybe we all do come in solidarity together and say, hey, we're not going to help the city prosper economically until we see change happen. That would be a really big momentum builder for an actual leftist movement, and we'll see what
Hmm.
happens. I mean, New York right now, I'm fired up for Zoran. I'm
Oh
Zoran Trump,
yeah.
so we'll
Oh yeah,
see.
I've been seeing the tweets. I've been seeing all the clips, and I'm not even from New York, but I'm like, I'm excited. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers that he wins there. But yeah, kind of pivoting off of, or kind of jumping off of that. How do you think the Democrats could move forward then with these recent protests and like clearly the country's showing a lot of disapproval with our current administration and the lack of pushback, and with I mean, look at how we've been treating the whole Israel and Palestine situation, the anti-ICE protests, what Doge did to a lot of Americans. Do you think the Democrats can use this to their advantage? Do you think they will?
I think Democrats are in a unique place where they're really hopeless right now. They don't have a lot of strategy. The Obama dynasty has died finally with Biden not only not dropping out until 3 months before the election, but also just the historic defeat from Kamala Harris. I mean, Trump won every single swing state. That was not like a close election. And I think it really just shows that listening to the consulting class amongst the DNC will not lead to electoral victory. So they're desperate to try to find some sort of different strategy, and they're either going to go more right or they're going to actually look towards progressives like Zoran, who are able to generate an energy amongst leftist voters. And for me, I feel like this is a really pivotal time, especially as we get towards the midterms. It really depends on what type of candidates we want to run. Are we going to run the people like Gavin Newsom who are trying to capitulate to the right, who are cozying up to people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, saying, hey, I can represent even you conservatives? Or is it going to be the Bernie Sanders AOC coalition of fighting oligarchy and trying to actually build a working class movement? I think that the Democrats historically have not had a good track record, but I'm holding out hope. I think that these demonstrations are showing that people are pissed and they want real change. And I think that if the Democrats want to capitalize it, they have the opportunity to do so.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, even right now, Bernie has kind of I think he released a video about the Iran, the situation in Iran going on right now, and so there is some sort of hope right now that he's starting to show some pushback there. And yeah, even AOC now she's on the whole Palestinian movement too. So I think we're starting to see a little bit more coming from AOC and Bernie. So one can only hope that they take what's going on right now with that momentum and drive forward with really good policies, really good candidacies that can actually go out and win.
Yeah, that's the key part, right? Is winning. We don't want people to just posture just for principle's sake. We got to actually get political power. There's a quote that a lot of leftists right now really just want to criticize power and they don't actually want to hold it. And I think it's important that we hold it, even if it is in ways that we don't 100% agree with. I mean, that's clearly better than the alternative. And not to get like lib reform politics, but my mentality with all of this is the easier it is to organize under an administration, that's the administration that we want. And it's not to say that we put all of our hopes in that basket or we think that they're going to be the solution to all of our problems, but an administration that allows us to organize as a real leftist movement, that is what we're hoping for. And even if they don't, I mean, the Biden administration, they deported college, or they didn't deport, but they detained college students who were protesting for Palestine. So it's not to say that like these again are bastions of freedoms, but we were able to better organize under a Biden administration than we are currently under the Trump admin. So I think it's important for people to be realistic about like, hey, let's actually get leftists in during the primary. And until then, we need to have harm reduction at all costs so we actually can build a worker coalition that will lead to real change in this country. Because change isn't done through incremental politics. Change is always done through workers' organization, people actually getting on the ground, local politics, state politics, and even just direct action, right? Like,
Hmm.
I know a lot of anarchists don't have any power in the United States, but the mutual aid that we've seen at these types of demonstrations where people are passing out essential materials, things that are going to protect from the police, like this is the movement that we want to see. And we want to see a conjunction of direct action with harm reduction, electoral reform. That's the only way that we progress as a society.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I mean, even if you want to have some sort of hope here for change, you can even look towards the blue dot, as you know, in Nebraska, the second congressional area here in Nebraska. I'm curious to know, how did you find out about us? How did you find out about the blue dot here?
I pay attention to a lot of red states. I think that they're really overlooked, and oh my god, especially the fucking pretentious liberals out here in Los Angeles who say things like, "Oh, this is what you wanted. I hope your food stamps get taken away out there in Nebraska." Or, "Oh, Texas, I hope all of you get deported, all you
Yeah.
Latinos that voted for Trump." Or, "Oh, I can't wait to see FEMA take away your rights." Like that bullshit is so annoying, and it shows that you don't care about your actual principles.
Hmm.
You only care about politics as a sports team. And so for me, I don't overlook a lot of these red states because there are so many leftists that live in these red states and marginalized communities. And the Latinos that voted for Trump in Texas are going to pay the price. There's a lot of Latinos who were put on like the Trump campaign as like, oh, we're spokespersons for these people. And there are legal immigrants that are being targeted and profiled by enforcement done by the Trump administration. And so for me, I'm not like oh, I told you so. I hope you reap what you sow. For me, I'm like, no, let's actually support these people so they see who's actually having their back and who's actually protecting them. It's not going to be Trump and it's not going to be the Trump supporters on the next round. It's going to be actual leftists who care about their principles and are willing to say, hey, I know you voted for Trump, but I still got your back. I don't want to see you deported just because you voted the wrong way or you got swindled by propaganda. I'm out here because I actually care about your well being. I mean, us leftists, we don't want Medicare for all just for people who vote blue. We want Medicare for all for people in general in the country, even right wingers, even people who hate us.
Right.
That's what we care about, is making sure that we're building a social safety system that provides for everybody, not just the people who vote along with us.
1,000%. I totally agree with that message. It's sad because I feel like a lot of people outside the Midwest will think of Nebraska as like, oh well, everyone there is conservative. Everyone likes Trump over there. Where it's like, no, you have cities like Omaha where I'm at. You have Lincoln that are blue. There's the blue dots here in the middle of like a endless sea of red, which is mainly due to gerrymandering. But we can get into that
Yep.
topic later on. But yeah, no, there's a lot of progressive movements out here, and so I mean, we even have influence in presidential elections. So Yeah, I think there's a lot of
Even like
misconceptions.
conservative communities, man, like there will be like marginalized people in those communities, and it's important not to overlook them and say like, oh, I hope that just goes to shit and all the conservatives get power there. Like, no, like we got to protect queer people everywhere. A lot of
Exactly.
people live in conservative places because the cost of living might be lower, just because there's less population density, and it's important to remember that there are so many queer people in the South. I mean, I think there's 1.2 million people amongst like the southern states that are queer, and a lot of those people are being affected not just by the Trump executive policies, but also the state legislation there too. So Democrats need to make sure that they're focusing on everybody, not just the coastal cities of New York and Los Angeles.
Oh, 1000% agree. I wanted to ask, I had this come up in one of my comments since I've been posting more on my TikTok of me being out and, going to protest. Are you being paid to protest?
Bro, my George Soros check is feeling good right
I'm
now. No,
waiting.
I no, I talked to somebody, bro, and they literally said that. They're like, it's crazy how many people here are getting paid, and I'm like, where's my check, dude? Like, I'm waiting for it because I'm out here because I care. It's not the most fun thing in the world to get tear gassed on your one day off from work. Like, nobody that I
Exactly.
know thinks that that's something that's super fun. People are out there because they care more about the mission than they do about their own individual freedom and or not freedom, but free time. And so that's why people are out there. It's not because they're getting paid or getting money. Like even like whatever the check would be, nobody's gonna take a tear gas or a rubber bullet to the face because they're getting like a small check. People are there because the passion is there and the principle's bigger than themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting for my direct deposit. I haven't gotten any cash or any direct deposit, so we'll see if that ever happens. But no, speaking of protests and being active, did you see that? I feel like me and you aren't actually doing real activism. I don't know if you saw the Taylor Lorenz story recently that she did, but there was actually activism going on in Roblox. I think you can see my screen, correct?
Yo, I did see that. Oh my
Yeah. Can you see
gosh.
my screen? I'm sorry, I don't know if it's pulled up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I see your screen, bro. I
Yeah.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks
Yeah, I
like
saw someone like message her. They're like, "I just got shot in Roblox," and I'm like, "We're so
yes.
unserious, bro. We're so unserious. That's funny
Like, what are we doing? I don't know if we're actually doing activism. We should just be on Roblox, dude.
for real, bro. That's where the real message is for sure."
yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And no, I saw. I'm kind of just to end this more on like a lighter tone here. I saw you on the Assange stream when you walked up to him, bro. How tall is that dude?
Bro, dude is Goliath. Yeah, I saw him in that clip where I first see him. I am coming up like an on ramp because we took over a side of the freeway, and then police started pushing us with the gas back up the ramp. But I saw him, bro. He was huge. And you know what's so funny is a lot of people have seen that clip because I posted on my socials too.
Right,
And bro was more geeked to see me than I was geeked to see him. I walked up to him and I was like, "Oh, bro, you going to the front lines?" And he's like, "Yo, look who it is!" And so it was a cool moment to see
bro.
Goliath and David, bro. We were meeting up finally.
Dude, living my dream out here, bro. That's crazy. But yeah, no, that's awesome. So hope we can get some future collabs going on soon. Maybe we can get Hank Pecker involved. Who knows? Maybe you can invite us to the Fear and podcast before we inevitably go into World War III. But yeah, do you
Yeah.
play any games? I mean, I've seen you do gaming on your streams, but is there anything that you specifically like to play?
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of Super Smash Melee, bro. Like that's my game, ride or die till the end.
Oh
But
yeah.
I've been trying to branch out into more variety games that are just like more stream friendly. It when I'm locked in, bro, I got the gamer lean playing Melee. It's not always the most entertaining thing to watch, but I know some people are here for it. We got the Melee heads. But more like most recently, I've been doing a lot of news coverage just because,
Yeah.
bro. Like I got called out. I don't know if you know Carter, but he's another
Yeah.
like big streamer in leftist politics. Bro, he called me out. He's like, "You're one hand politics, and you never talk about politics." I'm like, "Fuck, you're right, dude. I gotta practice what I preach." So I've been doing a lot more news coverage, but I'll game every now and then. We got to keep it light.
Oh, awesome. Maybe we can play something in the future, dude. That'd be sick. I feel like I have the opposite problem because I do a lot of gaming. I started streaming doing a lot of gaming, but I've been very vocal of my like political views, especially now with what's been recently happening. And so I have people being like, "Yo, you're actually you're very politically involved." It's just like, I mean, if you know me in real life, I've always been, but yes. But yeah, that's awesome, man. One thing I want to point out before we kind of end here is I've seen the communal like unity in these protests. Even going to the protests myself, it's been the complete opposite of violent. Everyone's just been very loving, very nice. Everyone supports one another. I couldn't help to like notice how much people even took care of each other in your guys' streams with you and Hassan's streams. And yeah, I mean, I love seeing the support, even like outside of the immigrant community. Like people have been coming in and showing support for us. And as a Latino, I want to like say thank you. You guys showing out there support to us for in these like hard times, and thank you. I thank you for sure, Mason, for being out there. On the front lines with us. This is freaking awesome, man. Like crazy.
Yeah, the people will persist, man, and especially if they feel like their government's not representing them, if they feel like they're being attacked in communities with their most marginalized people. I mean, undocumented folks are literally the ones that aren't getting any social security systems. They're not getting any sort of social safety nets. They're people being targeted the most by violent police. So it's important to show up for your communities. And when Los Angeles has a unity under a culture that was taken over by the United States, like we're going to be out here for people that live in our communities, regardless of skin color, regardless of culture. Folks are going to get active if they feel like they're being pressured, and that's really what it is at the end of the day. It's about companionship. It's about community. It's not about individuals trying to take advantage of opportunity. It's about people showing up for their brothers, sisters, and people that live here.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. As a Mexican, I just gotta say, you're invited to La Carne Asada, brother. Carnal, I hope to
Let's
see you there.
go.
So I hope to see you there, brother. But
Yes,
yeah,
man. Save
but
the
yeah,
Castilla. Basta.
exactly. But no, I hope to. I'm gonna let you go here. I know you got some protesting to do. You're gonna be very busy tonight. I'm gonna try to catch you live, but it's been awesome. I really thank you for your time. I know it was a little bit chaotic at first, but yeah, thank you again, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on here. I love talking about this with anybody. For those that are watching, you can find me at One Hand Politics on everything. I mostly have been live streaming a lot of protests on TikTok, both One Hand Politics and Two Hand. Sometimes TikTok doesn't want me to be showing that stuff, so they'll ban my main account. But we'll see. We'll see if how long that'll last this time. But yeah, you can find me there. I appreciate everyone chat. Follow Kane. Keep watching what he's doing. He's doing the good work. The more leftist creators we have out there, the more we're able to stop the right wing influence that's really taking over our government right now.
Exactly. Not very many of us right now, but we're trying. So,
Totally.
all right. Well, thank you so
All right,
much,
man.
man.
Yeah, have a great rest of your stream, and we'll do it again in the future for sure.
Absolutely. Stay safe out there. Thank you.
Yeah, peace out.
Peace.